Good morning, NIO fan. It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. And I'm here to share with you where I see the stock price of NIO going into next week. If you're making a big financial decision, please just do your own research, your own due diligence. I'm just a guy who loves the stock and loves to share where I see the stock going. Before I begin, I'll just map it out for you. If you're brand new here, we don't just look at NIO. We're going to look at Baba, Baidu, JD. And the reason we do that is you don't come to a conclusion just by looking at one's ticker. You look at all of them as a whole and try and fit together different puzzle pieces to have a more complete picture. We're going to look at the Hang Seng Index. We're also going to look at the US dollar. We're going to do all of that today. And starting with NIO. We're going to dive in. We're going to look at the velocity, which is what we do differently here when we look at the analysis. And I'll give a little bit of an update here just because of some people. It might be a refresher for those of you that are new, but I'll be teaching a little bit more about how the structure works when I flip from bullish to bearish. It seems appropriate given, yesterday's price action, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are wanting to get information. But before we begin, I've got my coffee here, breakfast blend. I put a little too much cream in it. Now it's like cold, and now it's not actually like burning the roof of my mouth, and it's not like hitting the spot. There was one person in our Discord group, I forget his name, I apologize, but he made a funny comment. He said, to be a long-term NIO investor, you have to be a little bit of a masochist, someone who enjoys a little bit of pain. And I'm like, that's me. I love pain, actually. When I drink my coffee, it has to punch the roof of my mouth, which is something I shared last week. But that's not the story I wanted to share for the Life in the Laser. Quick story, Life in the Laser. This one's kind of a short one, but a fun one with my son. For the longest time, I've been trying to get him to and convince him to go out and watch Hoppers, as we had some friends go out and watch it. It was a Pixar movie. And my pitch to him was, hey, Pixar movies makes really good movies. All of their other movies we've watched, we really liked. He watched the trailer and he said, "It's poop. I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch Hoppers. That's a poop movie." And for him, he would just much rather watch Mario #2 all over again, over and over and over and over again. For him, he loves rewatching those movies. And I was tired of it. I can only rewatch the Mario movie so many times. And I said, "Listen, it's my choice." And he threw a fit. He got upset. He started crying. And I said, "This was my choice. It's my pick. You can pick. We can watch Mario tomorrow." So I forced my pick on the movie. And first 5-10 minutes, he was like bickering and saying, "This is boring. This is bad." And he was just being sour about it. And then as the movie went on, he started giggling and laughing. And he came to me at the end of the movie and he said, "Well, I didn't realize the movie was going to be good. The trailer was so bad." And it reminds me of a very important life lesson, and that you should never judge a book by its cover. And I blame my son for having that. I mean, he's 6. Actually, he just turned 7 just last week. But I blame that behavior from my wife. My wife has this to this day with food. She refuses to kind of try new restaurants. And if we do, she kind of says, "Hey, what if it's bad? Oh my God." And it's very much the life lesson of don't judge a book by its cover. You got to give it a shot. And I feel the two are kind of almost related. And it's, for me, when it comes to restaurants, I'm fine trying something new. And if it's terrible, you know what? There's always something you can walk away with. Like, okay, now I know not to order, the chicken from X restaurant or whatever the case may be. You learn a little bit. But if you keep eating at the exact same restaurant over and over and over, you're never ever gonna broaden your horizon. Same thing for movies. If you don't actually watch that new movie, you're never gonna know. But that's it. That's for my Life in the Laser. Nice and short and sweet. I still have my coffee here. It's cold, so I should be able to pound it back real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and break this down from a velocity perspective. And I know I kind of have an idea what a lot of you guys want from me, this information. So I know a lot of you are saying, is this rally over? Just because I've got a lot of people in the Discord, in the NIO Discord that I have created. I can see the sentiment, and a lot of people do believe that this rally is over. And I don't want to actually ever call somebody wrong, but the way I trade. It trades off a system, and I'm gonna refresh you guys how that system works and when I would flip bearish. So the way the system works, I'm gonna start off by first of all addressing things. I haven't flipped from bullish to bearish. I still remain bullish. I was wrong again this week. Surprise. NIO's just a stock that's just going to humble you, actually. It's a very difficult stock to track. And if you're sitting there and you said, well, I got it right. I tracked it right. Well, good for you. You know what? Congratulations. You know, you did a really good job for tracking it right. But if you're telling me that, oh, yeah, it's going to go all the way back down, that's just because what NIO does, I got something to tell you about that. Like I would say, well, let's pump the brakes here. You know, just a quick look back left. You know, if we were to pull down, we know who we're talking about on Twitter was cheering and saying, "Told you so." It was over, only for us to go up. And then guess what? When we're up, the bears are quiet, and then we get a little dip. The bears come out and said, "Told you so." We told you so. It's not going, and all of a sudden it goes higher. And then, you know, it comes back down again, and who knows, maybe some of the bears go long here, and then they get pissed off like, oh, why did I have to join? I still think we haven't hit that last little leg here. I think it's disingenuous for the bears to disappear as we're coming up, and then when we're coming down, they get really loud and vocal, as they always do. And it's okay. You're allowed to have a bearish thesis or be short-term bearish and think long-term. Sometimes I do that too. But I'm going to let you know my structure, velocity structure, has not supported that. So how about we do that? We don't need to see the watch list for now. I'm going to close out my watch list just like that. I'm going to show you what would break the structure, what would change my thesis. There's quite a few things that would have to happen actually here. So number one is the 2-day time frame. Now, when it comes to structure, the bigger and longer the time frame, the more stronger those signals are. Okay, so as you can see, the 2-day time frame has been giving us higher highs. Let's use orange. Higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and higher lows. The 200-day moving average has also been giving us a higher low, which is tremendous. This is what actually caused the stock to actually rally 140%. And now, how much have we rallied so far? We've rallied about 57%. That's the equivalent of the first leg. Wow. What if, hear me out, what if this was just the first leg? Okay, I'm just saying it out loud, man. Like this could be wrong, and I know there's going to be a small vocal minority that will strongly disagree. They already are disagreeing with me on Discord, and that's okay. You're entitled to your own opinion. But my structure tells me that nothing's broken here on the 2 days. This still leads. Now we got to go down in time frame. We're going to keep going down in the time frame so we have a better picture and a better understanding. And we're gonna try and go and take a look here, because I want to remind you guys, when in August we hit, what was the high? 683. I'm gonna drag a little line over there. Isn't that interesting? Where did it retrace to? I'm going to just draw it right to the bottom of that wick here. All right. Now it's funny. How about before that? When we were right over here, where did it retrace to? Oh, okay. So what you're telling me, I don't actually like this tool, so I'm going to use a rectangle tool. This will do a much better job. Rectangle, that will be the one I'm looking for. So when we were trading right in there, and let's give it a border. Can I do that? It'll look really nice if I can give us a border. I think there is a way I can do that. Border, background. Ooh. Border, that's what I was looking for. Okay. And we don't need to fill it. Okay. That works. There we go. And when we were trading in here within this range, I wanted to just try and bring you guys' attention to this. They're they're almost like congested areas where price action is going to be hard to break through. You can see that this was a tough area. Where's my arrow tool? This was a tough area to get through, and it ended up forming a bull flag. And to no surprise, it ended up being an extremely tough area to get through. Very extreme, but we did break out to the upside. And then we had another tough congested area to kind of break through. To no surprise, we're still within that range, which was a really tough area to break through. It's challenging. And what that means when you're passing through a tough area where it's traded in the past before, you're never going to find a really clean and open entry. Okay, so it becomes a lot harder to find those entries. And then I want to show you guys something here. So we're in this range here, and I don't see it from the bears. They kind of exclude this. They kind of zoom in, but from the bigger picture, what do we have here? Well, to me, breakout. To me, pull back. Now I'm going to actually draw something out here for you guys, okay? When you guys get a breakout and a pullback, this is the case for all stocks. You get a breakout. Actually, let's just show it consolidating in a similar fashion. Okay, it comes down. Then we get up a little bit. Just to give you an idea, okay? Good enough. So it breaks out. We got a breakout. Sometimes that pullback doesn't happen immediately. What ends up happening is it coils. And sometimes it could coil like that. All right. And then what you get is you get like this area of consolidation after it has broken out to then push higher. Okay. This is a setup that you can go on any stock and you can find that. Now with some stocks, it might just do this, right? You don't get like, but with some other stocks, especially some of the areas that we're in, which we're in a congested area, it may need to retest and do a couple of, consolidation levels before you get that breakout. Because the way I look at the structure right now, it's broken out. Now, I know there's some other bearish charts and bearish structures that you can kind of share with me, but for me, this is the bigger and overall time frame. To me, this is the breakout. This is the pullback. And sometimes, and so this is our trend, okay? That's our trend line. That's this, okay? So perhaps tomorrow up we go, not tomorrow, pardon me, because it's Saturday. On Friday, we come up and we retest, what was it? 630, 640, wait, how high can we get? 645, 650. And then maybe we consolidate around here, around these levels, and then we break out. It might take a little bit longer. So I'm going to remind you guys, there's 3 things that would change my stance. Now, some of you might be saying, like, well, why are you keep staying bullish? Why are you not flipping bearish? Like, don't you usually flip bearish? Yes, I will, but there needs to be certain things that I need to see. So when was the time to flip bearish within this structure, looking at the velocity? I mean, it was obviously here from the price action. That was your lower high. But from a price action perspective, what did we get from a velocity perspective? We got a lower low, okay? A lower low. I'm just going to do it like that. What did we get? A lower high. That's an important step of the sequence. Also got a break of the 200-day moving average. 200-day. Okay. On the 24-hour time frame, same rules apply, except what happened when this rally was over. Okay, we had a break of the 200-day moving average. this rally, this short rally, which pretty much gave you a double top and a re-entry, happened below the 200-day moving average. So the high at, what was the high on that, right? 802, it made it right back up to 754, almost. And it gave us the break of the 200-day moving average. You want to know what else it did? Look how big it is because I drew it on the 2 days, my list. It also broke our uptrending line, and it also broke below the 200-day moving average. Hang on. Now, let's go take this and draw it up against support. So what do we know? We know it hasn't broken the uptrending line support, okay, as it did previously. We also know it hasn't broke below the 200-day moving average, okay? So that's another thing. We also know that it hasn't broke this previous low right over here. And I also know that this most recent move was a higher high. So keep in mind that we have a higher high, higher low on the price. Higher high, higher low still on the price. So even from a pricing perspective, things are okay. Now, I'm not going to go and say, I don't want to alienate anyone that actually is on the opposite end of that trade. Whether you're short or whether you're a short-term bearish and long-term bullish, and you want to, secure the price lower. You want to get it. I've seen the price target 520. This is going to 520. I want to get, well, maybe that's you. Maybe you believe it wants to go to 520 and you want to tell me I'm wrong. Okay. You're entitled to your opinion. And I'm not going to say you're absolutely wrong. I'm just going to say that's not my opinion. Maybe that will be the case, but I have not seen the breakdown yet. And things can be a little bit tricky when I trade the structure, I trade what the velocity tells me. Now, some people might say like, oh, well, wasn't this a higher low, a higher high, and doesn't that make that the lower low? Or what about this? Was that a higher low and that's a lower high? To me, I chalk that up to noise. These smaller moves, to me, this is how I see it. I see a move up, move down, move up, and a move down. I don't actually chalk these little moves that happen. To me, that's more like noise. And that's what I'm seeing here on the 2 days. This kind of eliminates the noise and smoothens things out and allows you to see the bigger, it's like a wider lens. It gives you a bigger picture of everything. And so this is what I know. And now here's another thing that there's a few things that I want to share with you. I just remembered this is what I want to talk about when it comes to NIO. People are saying the rally's over. Oh my God. Okay. So I've got so much to share. Okay. Maybe they're right. Okay. But I don't think so. I truly don't think so. I think this is just like a one-off day. There's so much that I can talk about, but remember, and we're going to go back to some of my videos back to like September and October, November. This is like for the long-term viewers. When we broke out of this downtrend here, okay, which was like, I'm going to use this tool. I don't know. It was like 110 days roughly. Was that when it broke out? Roughly. Let's just say 110 days, 76 bars. Well, when you go in a downtrend for 76 bars, which is 110 days, look what happens when I put that right to the downtrend to the top. Where does that take us? Almost to the top here. In fact, you go on an equal and opposite for that time and run. So actually, if I were to say, okay, it broke down and that's the breakdown, I think we'll probably get it a lot closer. Okay. Now, you might be saying that's a fluke, Laser. You just did that for one. That doesn't mean that the rules. Okay. I was talking about this earlier and I kept saying like, guys, like this might be, when our bottom was going to form. Was it the 100 days? Might have been the 100 days. So if you go like that, look where that gets you. So it went in a 100-day uptrend before it finally broke to a almost a 105-day downtrend before it, I mean, you're off by, okay, give me a break. You're off by 3 or 4 bars. All right. And it was already basically balancing out. And if you really wanted to, let's say this was your top. Let's say, okay, that's the lower high. You're kind of late at that point. So it worked again. That's the second time I would say that kind of gave you a really good estimate of when your bottom came in. All right. So knowing this information, what do we have here? We can go like this. We can use the same theory, same thesis. Here we go. What do we have here? One of the longest downtrends before it broke out. Is that what we have here? How many bars did it take? 180 bars. Okay. And that's telling you September. This thing's gonna go until September, actually, if you were to actually use that. And in fact, I'm not sure if I'm drawing it. If I were to draw it down, let's just say I drew it like this. That makes more sense. If I drew it just like this, I would get probably a little bit of a more conservative number. And let's say that was your breakout. Even I'm trying to be conservative with these dates and numbers. Even if I did it like that, July. So that's 141 days to the upside. July. Okay. Now here's another thing that I want to share with you. There's a few things just because I feel like it's important. It's important to share this. This is an important chart. So I'm going to go full screen on the chart. We don't need to see volume for this, even though volume is important, but specifically for what I'm showing you, it's not. I'm going to show you the Hang Seng Index for a second. We're going to go and dive into that next, but here's the Hang Seng Index, all right? I want to point something out to you guys here. Count with me. The top of NIO happened at the top of the Hang Seng rally. So let's count with me how many times this happened, okay? You guys see that? Okay, I'll just draw it. That's 1. Then we had our lower high top here. Oh, conveniently right at the top of the Hang Seng. And I mean, hindsight is 2020. So we won't know 100% until we look at the Hang Seng chart. So there's 2. So, I mean, if you were to count this one's kind of an anomaly. So this one doesn't really count. But if we were to count the top of our last 100% rally, where did that happen? Right near the top. So we have a 4. Here's an anomaly here. So this started to run up, and then NIO started to come up earlier. But this brings us to our next section here. Question mark. I'm not going to number it because I don't know, right? Because if you believe, okay, that's it, it's back going on a downtrend, statistically speaking, you'd also believe Hang Seng is also bearish, right? That's what you'd believe. Now, that's just one indicator. So let's do this again with another ETF. KGRN, the Crane shares. Look it up. If you don't believe me, look this up. NIO is heavily weighted in this ETF. It's a clean energy tech for China. Look this one up. Okay. What did I do? I did something wrong. So we're going to do new price scale. This is better. Wait, can I move any of these? I did something. Why can't I move it? Okay, let's try this again. Okay, I must have not been paying attention. New price scale. What? There we go. Okay. It was like glitched or something. I wasn't able to move the price. That's what I wanted to do. Now you can see this one's actually a little bit more synced up with NIO. Look at the top here on KGRN. Almost picture perfect top. Top here. Top here. Even this little blimp, it's like it's synced up actually. Did it sync up with here? Almost, not quite, almost, right? This thing came back down, made a higher low, ran. Look at these tops. KGRN, you can see these trade very, very similar. Now it's important when you try and look at it. So you would have to then be bearish also on the KGRN index. But when we ran minus 7%, when we were minus 7% off that news, the KGRN index, which by the way has been very, very, very correlated, it was only 0.46% flat. So quite a big divergence there. Okay, so it actually didn't really have a bad day saying like the cycle's over. To me, it could be more like a 1 day off. Now, it's not just KGRN. There's one other ETF that we track, and it's the iDrive, which is actually all of your major EV. Tesla's in it, BYD's in it, Xiaomi's in it, XPEV's in it, Li Auto's in it. You name it. If it's probably, I think, if it's an EV car, it's in there. And this one's really nice too, because NIO does trade in this ETF. And if you look very, very carefully, there's been a little divergence, quite a significant amount. And the iDrive actually is pushing fresh new highs, whereas NIO hasn't done that yet. So it's another thing that's showing, it hasn't quite, like if you're going to get a big downside move, usually it's supported. Usually that's supported. You get that support. Okay, it's going to come down. It's going to drag down. Even this, when it comes down, that comes down. This is like a complete divergence. Again, so we're looking at different puzzle pieces trying to complete the picture here. So I will bring this back to velocity because that's my specialty. And I don't believe we've actually seen a confirmation of a bottom, and I think things are tricky. And a lot of people are, dead convinced one way or the other. And it's only the long-term holders with true conviction are like, I don't care. I'm happy with whatever price. I'm holding right till the end. And if we get lower, I'm going to buy that dip. Let's go. And honestly, I respect and appreciate that for having that conviction, actually. And truly, the fundamentals, if you truly there was another member, I'm going to steal what he said. If you truly understand the fundamental thesis behind NIO, you'll understand that it's not just the delivery numbers that provide them the moat. It's the fact that they have their electric vehicle battery swap stations. Their BAS is part of their moat. And when they deliver year over year increase month over month, they may not be doing bigger numbers month over month, but as long as they're increasing year over year, which, by the way, they're 70% ahead of target year over year. That means more cars, NIO cars, and Envo cars, and Firefly cars on the road. That means more battery swaps, which, by the way, almost broke a record, which has never really been done outside of Chinese New Year's. So that's been kind of picking up. And eventually that is kind of the future here for this company. It's going to be something that's going to send it back to all-time high and more. I believe that. So we dive into the 4-hour time frame. Honestly, the 4-hour time frame is in a tricky spot because it was trying to do something special here. It was trying to break out. And I was trying to make I thought, okay, this might be a bullish divergence forming here. And it confirmed with lower low. So it's not. So it's told me that sellers showed up. There's a lot of sellers there that obviously showed up and pushed the price down from a velocity perspective. That's how you interpret this. And when you have a lower low on the 4-hour time frame, you can't confidently say you have a bottom that's in until we need to take these highs out on the velocity. and we need to build a higher low. And that's kind of your true and ultimate buy signal. And that may actually very well come on a Monday. But what we would need to see is you would need to see a really big bounce, kind of what we saw here, by the way. When we got a bottom, it bottomed on the bottoms actually do come in on a lower low. That's usually when you push down low enough, that's when you get that mean reversion large bounce. You'll see this gave you a huge bounce and that higher low. Even despite it pushing lower lows, it gave you that huge bounce. And also, it's funny, specifically when we look at this and this. I'm going to show you another thing here. There's all these things that I'm seeing that support my bias that this rally is not over. Notice it's breaking out of this trend line and then it breaks back under. Maybe some people are like, I'm selling here. It's done. It's over. But this was a breakout and it creates a secondary trend line. Okay. And what does the stock do when it breaks out of that second trend line? It explodes. Okay. We can do the same thing up here. We have here a breakout. Now let's make sure I'm zooming that one in actually. This one is interesting. We got to use the magnet tool to make sure we're wicking it nicely. Yeah, it definitely broke under. In the same way, oh, why did I delete that? Let's see if I can get that back. Where is it? In the same way that it broke under here. Oh, we'll turn volume back on. Did that on 19 million volume. Yeah, it broke under that. In the same way that it did this. It created a secondary trend line. Wow. Doesn't that look a little similar? So if we were to pretend that NIO only needs to break right above, and I'm trying to draw this as best as I can, of this line, the line in the sand, let's just say come Monday, or what time is Monday? At close, is 6:05. You guys see that? Here, I'll draw a little. Where is that? Monday, may the 4th be with you. Oh, okay. 6:07, 6:05. You see the timestamp on that? 1500. That's 3 o'clock my time. That's when the stock market closes. How much percent would it need to do to actually get above that? Let's pretend here. So you're telling me it needs just 2% green? Come on. We've seen this before, okay? If NIO was going to go down, there was plenty of news that could have saw it come tumbling down and crashing down. How about the Pentagon list? The Pentagon list, they're going to be banned and be delisted. That happened earlier on. And how about the recall news? Oh my God, there's a recall going on NIO. Meanwhile, nothing really happened here. Now, this is where I believe is that we have potentially here above. Now I'm going to show you the 1 hour time frame. So we have our 1 hour time frame. Also in a reset, a lower low. But something interesting that I'm noticing here, okay? Now, I probably should have leaned into this a little bit more with my Discord group, actually. But, of course, my bias does tend to be always, I try and lean on that bullish side, whatever the bigger time frames are telling me. But what did the small 1 hour time frame tell us? It told us that the 200-day moving average made a lower low. Okay. It gave us a beautiful bounce. And now it's just wanting to make a higher low here. And perhaps that dip needed to actually happen. In fact, you saw something like that form here, although I wouldn't call this a lower low. It was a higher low, but I guess it dropped so much, it needed time to build a higher low. And that could be very well almost in a similar fashion what's playing out. And what was the news here? I don't even know if that might have been recall news, but it dropped 7%, 7.48% from that top. What is that? 7.48%, almost like similar. Now, here's another thing that makes me think like, okay, something fishy's going on here. Now, when I study the volume, a lot of people say like, oh my God, it's like a crazy volume. It's over 57 million volume. I can actually just draw a little line here on the volume. And I can see the very last time. When was the last time we had a big red sell-off volume day? Oh, look at that. Even more volume. 68 million volume. Imagine if we had that much volume. What was the following day? A 7% green day followed by fresh highs. Okay. Maybe a one-off. What was the next big red day? 73 million volume. It was a 3% red day, but what was the next following day? Okay. And you can see that was a tremendous amount of volume. And then we go over here. What was the next time it had low volume, high volume? 64 million volume. Now this one slid. It actually went slightly green, slightly red. So overall it dropped like from 452 and tagged 430. It dropped like 20 cents before it finally went up. Now, if you look at the hourly candle, you tell me this. And this is something that I'm trying to get better at. I know volume analysis is very important. You tell me this, guys. You're telling me from 9 a.m., from when like essentially the market opened, all the way into close. So that candle closed at $5.91. And NIO did a total of 44.9 million volume. 44.9. Why is it wiggly? I swear my writing is not that bad. It's TradingView that's doing that. I had to do that. My nose was a little congested. I'll do it one more time. So almost 45 million volume. And the price went flat. Usually when that happens, from a Wyckoff perspective or a volume perspective analysis, the volume is not matching the price action at all. You can even see here the peak volume on the hour was, it hit a low of 587. It hit a lower low on smaller volume, and the sellers never really decided to come right back. So 45 million shares exchanged hands as it went flat. How many people on Twitter publicly said, I'm out? Or you go on stock twits and said like, oh my God, 27,000 deliveries. It's trash. It should have been 35 or 40. I'm out. If that were the case and smart money was out, don't you think they would have, if smart money was dropping 44 million volume into NIO, don't you think that would have been like more of like at least in a downward correction, not flat? To me, that's a bullish divergence right there. Okay, something is suspicious there on that volume. And if I had to guess, you had a lot of retail who were scared, a lot of stop losses that were hit. A lot of options kind of got messed up because it went below 6. And to me, I believe there's a sign of accumulation that's actually going right there. And I would not be surprised to see it kind of break back above, and we come and we retest this top end of that channel, 605. It might be actually higher if I'm more precise. But on the 24-hour time frame, what was it? It was, I don't know how I got 605 before. Oh, that's because you draw it like that. Yeah, there's your 605. So we might actually get that. Doesn't even hold. Like, I don't understand how that's drawn. I'll just draw it like this. So maybe it's not 605, it might be 614, but even then that's what? 3%? Come on, please. And it may not break it on the first time. What you could actually see is you could see something like this. Okay. Bounces back in above this breakout trend line. Doesn't break it right away. Makes a little higher low. And then you get the breakout. And this thing runs. I still believe that. And the sentiment is perfect. If there's any indicator that you can use, it's the sentiment. The sentiment is definitely low. The bears are loud. It was almost like they were holding their tongue for the longest time. They got quite loud here. They got extremely quiet here. They're loud again here. Sheesh. Kind of like you can always expect bears to get very vocal when the price comes out. Okay, so this is the way I see it. I don't see it as being over. I see that being a trap. I do see Monday kind of things kind of going higher. Now that's just one piece of the puzzle pie. That's just NIO. We got to go and look at everything else here, because again, if you believe the rally's over for NIO, historically, when the rallies are done on NIO, so is the Chinese rally, so is everything else. Okay. So we're going to go and dive right in to looking at starting with BABA. So is the bottom in or is the top in for BABA? Well, hey, look at this. BABA is giving its very first higher low after breaking above the 200-day moving average. BABA just broke out of this trend line right here on the 24 hours. BABA's golden pocket, which I've been calling forever, is 166. How much percent away is that? 28% away to the upside. Now, if BABA's going to go up, then you damn well believe the Hang Seng Index is going to go up. This is an incredibly bullish setup and structure here for BABA. I look at the 4-hour time frame and it's resetting, but we have now higher lows that are forming here. And it's kind of almost making like a flag. It's flagging and it's building out a base before it builds up higher. Okay, so bullish on BABA. All right, we've got one Chinese peer and name, very bullish. Let's look at Baidu. Baidu on the 24-hour time frame. So we're above the midline. It did make actually a bearish divergence here. Minor. It's more noise when you look at it. Let's see what it looks like on the 2 days. On the 2 days, that looks good. It's giving you kind of like that one move. It's giving you that next pullback. It's giving this pullback here. And that was a higher high on that 2 day. The reason I did it 2 days is it's when you get these squiggles, it's hard to really kind of see those moves. And on the 24-hour, it does a better picture. It doesn't have as clean of a look as BABA does, but when I go to the 4-hour, bounced right off the midline, looking to form a higher low, and it had that awesome, like what was it, like a 5% day or 3 or 4% day the day before. So it looks good. To me, this looks very, very good for Baidu. Hourly is now breaking above the midline. It might want to give you a little bit of a, one last move lower and build out a bullish divergence. It might want to build a higher low on the 200-day moving average on the 1 hour. But I think Baidu looks decent. How about JD? JD still looks great. JD is about to actually trying to form its next higher low. Beautiful. And then that will do that when it gives you that higher low. And it already did. It gave you the higher low. Look at that signal. When you get that higher low, what was the following move? You got upside. And now it's going to give us the first higher low. It was a higher high. Now it's trying to give you a higher low. Bottom's likely in for JD. This thing is looking good. And then you got these index. We'll look at KWeb. KWeb is a pretty big Chinese index. It's already given us that higher low. And it's pretty oversold. This at some point it's going to give you that mean reversion bounce into the midline here. So for those of you that are saying like it's over off 1 day, 1 day doesn't break the trend, and I do believe that NIO it's not over, not yet, and it hasn't actually met the requirements for me to actually say like this is where we want to now start looking at saying that the rally's over. That's my opinion. It could be wrong. I mean, I've been calling it wrong the last 2 weeks. No reason for you to walk away and not take what I say with the grain of the salt. But this is what I'm seeing. And then if we go into China, okay, this one's an important one. We'll go into China here. What are we seeing here so far? So China's given us a really it's given us a really nice move. It's also given us that breakout and that pullback. And it's giving us the pullback above the 200 day. It's like basically the first bounce above the 200 day moving average. I look at the 4 hours and it's holding above that midline. Okay, it did make a lower low, but it's starting to bounce here. It's not as clean of a look here, but you get a little noisy here. In fact, if I go into the 8 hour and 12, it starts smoothing things out. And then when I go into the 1 hour, we have here a higher high, and now it's actually forming a higher low. And you can see the 200-day moving average is forming higher lows. So I am bullish on that Hang Seng Index. I do expect more upside. So take that with a grain of salt. You've got some tailwind coming your way. Now, what about the US dollar? US dollar, I have a drawing here of what I thought the US dollar was going to do. And it's basically making that lower high back down to, I think it'll come back down lower. It's broken below. It gave you the bounce below the 200-day moving average. 4 hours. Yeah, that's telling us that that mini rally is over. When the US dollar comes down, that's going to be bullish, I think, for the Chinese market. It's going to be bullish for the equities. It's going to push things further to the upside. I do think it'll eventually bottom, but to me, I'm quite bullish. That leaves me with a little bit of extra time to cover oil. If I were to go to the 24-hour time frame, real quick, we'll take a peek. I think we might see one surprise headline, and this high will just be taken out. So if we get something like this, maybe like this, takes out the high and it creates a bearish divergence, then I think it can come tumbling down. So one more. You better not do this, or I'm going to, something from Trump, and that all of a sudden oil comes up, and then we've got a deal. Boom. That would be where I would see where oil goes. And Bitcoin looks crazy good. However, before it ran, and it started to look crazy good right over here, it gave like this last minute, like boom, super high candle, high volume, like almost like a last minute shakeout. And I think that could be in store. Like, before they let this run, let's shake everybody out, take the lows out. So, one last little like death candle right below the lows, and then it goes sideways, and then boom, we're talking super mega bullish bull run on Bitcoin. I'm very, 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 very bullish on Bitcoin. But I think, definitely look out for a potential rug pull, some sort of news headlines that would cause it. That's it. That sums up my analysis. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment sections below. If you disagree with my analysis, feel free to share it in the comment section below. I've already had plenty of people come to me and tell me I'm wrong. One guy today told me you should take a 1 month break. Stop telling us the stories on life and the laser. Like, don't tell me what to do, bro. I'll do what I want to do. And I do what I do because I enjoy doing. I'm not getting paid doing this. I do this because I enjoy doing this. So don't tell me, I've been doing this for the last 2 years, what to do. Like that, don't tell nobody what to do. All right? If you don't like it, the door's right there. You can walk away. Sorry to kind of sound defensive. It's just that's my opinion. I'm gonna say what I want to say. I didn't want to end off on that note. So it's the weekend. It's very nice outside for finally it's starting to heat up. This has been one of the coldest springs ever. Go outside, get some sunlight, go for a walk, enjoy your weekend. Stop staring at the charts. Wait until the market opens back up on Monday. I'll see you guys all next week. Thank you so much, guys, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. Cheers.